Peter FitzSimons Last updated 7:14 the 26th of January 2019. Sky Sport Disgraced. Former Australian captain Steve Smith had an impressive debut in the Caribbean Premier League. Mike Owen, Getty Images Interest in Australian cricket seems to be waning, claims Peter FitzSimons. Evans Virat Kohli and the Indian cricket team celebrate a series win over Australia. Getty Images. The Sri Lanka tour has so far failed to inspire Australian fans. Ronald Martinez Tom Brady has led the Patriots to the Super Bowl final at 41. Mark Sheffield. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison applauds after Australia's Ashley Barty defeated Russia's Maria Sharapova. Cricket opinion. Bloody hell, was that the summer of our discontent, or what? Or maybe it was mere disinterest. Usually at this time of year most of us are the full bottle on what happened with the Australian Test 11, but this year, as demonstrated by a remarkable fall in ratings, it passed many of us by. I recall we got one Test victory over India before being spanked, and I know there is a test on against Sri Lanka at the moment. But the rest of it? The one-day stuff and Big Bash League carry-on? Put a gun to my head and I'd still be incapable of giving you any detail. Most of my circle feel the same. It feels like there has been some kind of seismic shift, where interest has waned this summer. Read more. Aussie sports, stinker, year. Rugby upsets cricket and Hagley clash. Underarm stink, should linger. Norquay. Underarm ball, terrible thing. Part of it must be the hangover from what happened in Cape Town, where many who turned away in revulsion simply haven't turned back. Some must be from the lack of consistently winning. And I guess, too, the changing of networks has affected it. Channel 7's cricket broadcast is fine and very professional, but, as former sports journalist Richard Sleeman noted to TFF before Chrissy, watching Channel 7 televise cricket is like shopping at Aldi. It's all vaguely familiar, but you know it's not the real thing, that is, whereas you always just knew the cricket was on Channel 9, which is now the Herald's TV arm, and what format was on at any given time. This season you have to work out who's on first and what's on second, and when you get there, it just doesn't feel like it used to. And who are those blokes again? I know. You'll find me in my trailer, with my pipe and slippers on, only occasionally emerging to yell at the kids to get off my lawn. Ad feedback. Brady beyond belief. The most stunning sports story of the week? Tom Brady, who, at the age of 41, fair cry sakes, has again led the New England Patriots to the Super Bowl. Single-handedly, the quarterback has changed the whole frame as to when footballers get to their use-by date. True, none of his 19 years in the NFL have been right at the coalface, where the attrition rate from enormous men hurling themselves at each other is so appalling, but he's still been the most hunted quarterback of his era, and somehow keeps bouncing back year after year after year. How the hell has he done it? Over the break I spent a little time staying in South Carolina with Gary Smith, often regarded as Sports Illustrated's greatest ever writer, and he considers Brady the most professional athlete he's ever seen, no small commendation from one of Smith's experience. Not content with the Patriots' doctors, physios, dietitians, etc., Brady has his own team of professionals working on him. With them, nothing is left to chance in terms of his preparations, just as everything possible is done as soon as a match is over to help him recover quickly and in time for the next one. It's that single-minded devotion that has seen Brady competing, nay, dominating, in one of the most brutal sports in the world, into his 40s. I never imagined any of this, believe me, Brady said during the week. This is beyond. I mean, who could ever imagine this? 9 Super Bowls. I just take it for what it is and enjoy it. I love my teammates. I love my coaches. I love my family. It takes a lot of people to support you, for all of us. I'm just happy for all of us. Staggering. PM Cops treatment. There was an interesting moment on television last Sunday when Scott Morrison turned up at center court for the last 10 minutes of Ash Barty's match to go through to the quarterfinals. For the crowd, as they say in the classics, went wild. Boo, boo, B-O-O-O-O-O-O. John McEnroe, bemused. Why is the crowd booing? Todd Woodbridge, that's our Prime Minister, mate. McEnroe, a little stunned. Okay. The next day, the PM tried to explain it to reporters in Cairns. It's a great tradition. I would be disappointed if they didn't. Bob Hawke and everyone else got the same treatment at games. Certainly many prime ministers have, but I don't recall Hawke being so booed. Does anyone else? What they said. Vogue editor Anna Wintour, Margaret Court was a champion on the court but a meeting point for players of all nations, preferences and backgrounds should celebrate somebody that was a champion off it as well. It is inconsistent for the sport for Margaret Court's name to be on the stadium that does so much to bring all people together across their differences. If anyone sees Ms. Court, tell her the devil wears Prada. Usain Bolt on his Mariners experiment. I don't want to say it wasn't dealt with properly, but I think we went about it not the way we should. Then again, it might have been ludicrous to expect a 32-year-old with no huge background to compete after a few months training. Indigenous basketballer Patty Mills explains his specially designed shoes to an American audience. These shoes have been designed to educate people on Australia's history and its current status. The base color of the shoes represent the dusty red soil plains of the land. The left shoe displays the word invasion to describe the European settlement and the genocide of indigenous people that occurred on January 26, 1788. Mills. The right shoe displays the word survival to describe the current status of indigenous people, land and culture in Australia. This also illustrates the date, January 26, 2019. A country that was once populated by 100% indigenous people is now, 231 years later, 3%. David Gallup on the sacking of Matilda's coach Alan Stajic. This was a decision based on a range of material. It's not within the power of the players to appoint a coach. Nor is it in the powers of the players to reinstate a coach. Mark Philippoussis. In the past, if we had problems or I had an issue with someone, I actually spoke to that person, and only that person. And then one way or another, it was worked out. I think you have to go back to the old school instead of getting on Twitter because you're not going to figure out anything that way. When the poo classifies his behavior as old school, we are in trouble. Todd Greenberg reads this year's version of the NRL Riot Act. Take it as read. The first time we put the hammer down this year, it's going to be harder and bigger. And if anyone says, what about there will be no, what about we're in a new era now? It's a reset. Team of the week Ash Barty. She gave it a red-hot go to make it to the last 8 at the Australian Open. Socceroos squeaked by Uzbekistan and faced UAE early this morning in the quarter-finals of the Asian Cup. Tom Brady, the quarterback who guided the Patriots to a third straight Super Bowl, is 41, and has been playing in the NFL for 19 years. Curtis Patterson and G. Richardson. Australia's new Test cricketers. Rip Ross Whittaker, 1936–2019. The legendary sage of basketball in country and SW, and nowhere more than in his hometown of Goulburn, passed away unexpectedly last Saturday. The Herald sends its deepest condolences to his wife Dee, and daughters Kath and Jo. Well done, O noble servant of the game. Toby Price won his second Dakar Rally motorbike title with victory in a dramatic final stage in De Lima despite his broken wrist. Sydney Morning Herald.